Hello, and welcome to Virtual PCT, brought to you by the Pullman Civic Theater. In times like these, when you may be cooped up in your homes, isolated from others, stories provide our only escape from the monotony. That's where we come in. We start our story in an ordinary corporate office. There's a desk with a computer, a phone, a photo of a woman, and a heavy wooden nameplate. A chair sits on either side. Evelyn sits behind the desk, typing on the computer. The phone rings, and she answers.
Yes? Good. She's early. Send her in.
Jamie nervously enters.
Good morning, Jamie. Take a seat.
She does so, making certain to sit up straight and give off an air of sureness, still fighting the unease that comes from meeting with your boss. Evelyn looks at her screen and back at Jamie several times before addressing her.
So, I see here you're interested in a job in management. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I've worked here for 5 years and believe that I would be a good fit for management.
Well, we think that you'd be a good fit as well, so I just have a few questions for you.
I'm happy to answer anything.
All right, so you've worked here for 5 years as a button pusher, correct?
Yes.
Wow. 5 years of nothing but pushing buttons. I don't think I could handle that. Have you ever worked a government job before?
No, before this I worked in a small accounting firm.
Why did you leave?
Personal reasons.
How personal?
Pretty personal.
Slept with the boss? Or maybe you wouldn't.
No, nothing like that. I was married to his brother, and when we got divorced, he let me go.
Oh well, that's life. Why not go to another accounting firm?
When the only account of your abilities is your ex-brother-in-law, it's a little hard to put your best foot forward.
In-laws, right? Mine can't stand me. It's made things a little hard recently.
I heard about your wife's passing. My condolences.
Don't worry about it. This meeting is about you, not me. Let's get back to the questions, shall we?
Of course, ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am. It's so formal. Makes me feel old, you know. Call me Evelyn. We'll be working very closely together, and I like a feeling of familiarity with my coworkers.
Yes, Evelyn.
There you go. All right, so what makes you think you're suited for the job?
I'm currently the representative for Section G, and with that comes the responsibility of making sure everyone meets their quota and that the paperwork is all correct before it reaches management. You are, I'm sure, aware that Section G has the highest numbers last quarter, and while I don't take personal responsibility for those numbers...
Why not?
I will say that... I'm sorry?
Why not take personal responsibility? I mean, it was you that oversaw the button pushing. You're the one who was making sure everyone was getting all their pushes in.
The men and women of Section G are great.
Look, Jamie, this is the U.S. government. We don't do humility. If you're going to make it in management, you're going to have the guts to take what you want. None of this no I and team stuff. You need to be able to take credit for your actions, and sometimes the actions of others.
Yeah, no, of course. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, Evelyn.
You're kind of a pushover, aren't you?
I don't...
It's a wrinkle we can iron out. To tell you the truth, I think you're exactly the person we're looking for. You've got a great foundation, leadership skills, but we can still work with you. Mold you into what we need you to be. But before we can sign the papers, there's one more question I need to ask you.
Of course.
Do you know what the buttons do?
What?
Do you know what the buttons do?
Well, No, I never thought to ask.
Evelyn smiles and leans back in her chair.
That's what makes you perfect for this job, Jamie. You just do what people tell you.
I thought that was a bad thing.
It is later, but at first you need to be malleable. You need to be open to suggestion. There's a lot that goes into this job, and if you don't listen to what we have to say, then you'll never succeed.
Okay then, so what do the buttons do?
It's brilliant. Just absolutely genius. I'm sad to say that I'm not the one who came up with the idea, but I was on the original committee to find a solution.
A solution to what?
Well, it's no secret that we're overpopulated. We don't have enough jobs, enough resources to support the people we have, and yet everyone just keeps popping out more and more babies. This is a real problem. And a few years ago, the government put together a committee to figure out what we could do about it. Of course, the original ideas were all things like make more jobs, plant more forests, build up, not out, but none of these were affordable. Then the idea came up to thin out the herd.
What do you mean by thin out the herd?
Population control through strategic termination. Every time you push a button, someone drops.
What?
I can see you need a moment. It's a lot to take in. It's just such a great idea, isn't it?
So many things raced through Jamie's head. She just wanted to leave, forget the promotion, go back to pushing the buttons, return to when things were simple and mundane. How many buttons had she pushed in the last 5 years? It had to be in the thousands, millions. Something so innocuous, contributing to something so horrifying. And she was all a part of it.
I just can't believe a great idea. This is how?
How do we do it? Oh, you're really going to appreciate this one. Vaccinations. That way most people get it. We used that flu epidemic a few years back to get as much of the population as possible. I'm not sure of the specifics, we have scientists for that, but I do know that it's painless. All they feel is a little shock and they're dead instantly. Put down cause of death as an aneurysm or something else immediate. Done. No muss, no fuss. Of course, there are those people who don't get vaccinated, but we figure if they aren't getting vaccinated, the problem will work itself out.
But that's not what I meant. How could you do this? How can the government do this?
Jamie, population control is a revolutionary idea. I don't understand what you're getting
Killing
worked up
people
about.
is a revolutionary idea? That's wrong, and you know it.
I really thought you'd see the genius behind this.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't seem to get the genius behind the government killing off a bunch of people to save a few bucks. How do you know you're not killing off someone important?
Oh, we know exactly who's being terminated. It's all in a file. You see, we're even benefiting the gene pool. Only killing off bad people.
Evelyn picks up the photo on her desk. She looks at it a moment, and then replaces it.
Did you ever meet my wife?
Never had the pleasure.
You weren't missing much. She had the personality of a limp noodle. She used to be so full of life, but things took a turn when I started working here. Then I found out she was cheating on me.
Evelyn, your wife died a month ago.
If you're thinking what I think you're thinking, the answer is yes. I wanted a divorce, but they're so messy. You understand, you're divorced. It was much easier to just pull the plug, so to speak. What can I say? I'm very partial to the things I have, and I would hate to part with half of it.
So, you have absolutely no problem with the fact that anyone can just kill anyone they want at the drop of a hat?
Not just anyone, Jamie. Only management can make that call. That means you if you change your mind and accept the job.
And if I don't?
Well, there really isn't a second option. I never wanted it to come to this, but you know too much at this point. We couldn't possibly keep you alive. I do hope you understand. It's a bit of a sticky situation.
But if I accept, I get to live.
Of course.
I guess I don't have much of a choice then, do I?
You know, I like you. You understand the score.
Jamie sits, silently for a moment. She thinks of how this day began, simply as they always do. She never could have expected what would happen. Jamie turns the picture frame to look at it. Such kind eyes and a lovely smile. She looks at Evelyn, cold, calculating, heartless. How dare she? How dare she think she can choose who lives or dies? And why did she have to bring her into it? Jamie was happy-ish. She was at least content in ignorance. Before she knew what she'd spent 5 years of her life doing. Filled with grief, confusion, and rage, Jamie grabs the nameplate and hits Evelyn over the head with it as hard as she can. Evelyn falls to the ground.
Ow, why did you do that?
I can't let you get away with this.
Jamie advances on Evelyn, holding the nameplate.
Stop, just think about what you're doing.
Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Tell me, how does it feel?
It hurts.
No, not your head. Being powerless. You're lying on the ground with no choice but to just cower there. It must be a pretty strange feeling. I mean, you had all the power in the world. With a flip of a switch, you could change the lives of so many people. But now, you're just an insect crawling on the ground, afraid of being squashed. You know what you are?
Tired of listening to you?
Pathetic.
Call me what you want, but there's nothing you can do either.
Oh, really? I could kill you.
And then you'd be arrested. I'm pretty sure beating someone's head in is punishable by law.
I never said anything about killing you with this.
Jimmy sits behind the desk and starts searching the computer. Evelyn tries to stand up. Jamie stops and points the nameplate at her.
Unless you'd rather I use this, but I promise it's much more painful.
Evelyn sits back on the ground and Jamie continues her search.
Just so you know, this isn't going to make any difference. There's more of us. Management will take you down.
Not if I take them down first.
Jamie finds what she's looking for. She looks at Evelyn. Fear in her eyes for probably the first time in a very, very long time. Jamie wondered if this made her just like Evelyn. Willing to kill to get what she wanted. But what did she want? Without knowing the answer, Jamie presses the button and watches the fear in Evelyn's eyes flicker out. The story you've just heard was The Interview by Sam Updahl, featuring Kristen Lincoln as the narrator, Sam Updahl as Evelyn, and Lakin Workman as Jamie. Special thanks to Mike Long, our Foley artist who put together all the sounds, and Kristen Lincoln for editing the video. I hope we were able to give you an interesting escape from your daily life. If you enjoyed this, please consider donating at www.pullmancivictheater.org. Thank you for joining Virtual PCT. Good night.